Hello, everybody. This is the set review show with the Vaultboyhunter and me, Sam, um, and we are going to be talking about the Dark today. So, the climax of the Brothers' War was the Silex blast, which lofted debris into the air, blotting out the sun and creating the dark. Without the sun, the climate begins to cool, and an anti-magic religion comes to power, blaming the Silex blast and its effects on all magic and magic users. Persecution of this magic and using the wizards of these magic using wizards led to the creation of this fabled city of shadows in the east and the conclave of mages in the west, where they hid themselves during this time. So kind of just the story of the Dark. Dark is kind of an interesting little set. Number one, because in my mind, and I haven't done a whole lot of looking over the set, I find it to be incredibly boring. Like really flavorful thematically, but the cards are boring to me. I was playing shortly after it came out, and like I never liked any of the cards from the Dark. Very few, because there are a few good cards, but apparently there's 40 commons, 1 uncommon, and 78 rares. Which is probably just the fact that maybe they just did a whole bunch of the uncommons as like uncommon 3, which would have made them rare or something like that. It released in Italy before Legends, kind of an oddball thing. Notable cards we'll talk about when we get there. Functional reprint has Goblin Hero, which is a great ogre. It's all over the place with the color pie. Has some mana acceleration in blue, blue land destruction, white direct damage, red creature destruction, white toughness reduction, land destruction in blue, creature destruction in blue, discard in blue. White has some creature control, white has direct damage and repeatable bounce, and black creature tapping. The multicolor cards are odd because they will have reminder text reminding you that they are multicolor and count as 2 different colors, which is really strange because this came out after Legends and none of the Legends cards had that, and only one of the 4 lands tap for mana. And this is another set where Dennis Detweiler got credited for his art as Denise Detweiler. So pretty fun. No cycles in the Dark. So, okay. Developed by Jesper Moifros, Steve Bishop, Glenn Elliott, and Beverly Marshall Salling. That's who designed it. And the development team was Scaphalash Shimlin, Chris Page, Dave Petty. So the kind of the usual suspects at this point. They were 8-pack cards. Blah 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 blah. Had the first common multicolored card and the first enemy paired multicolored card. Some poison counter, upkeep costs, intense mana costs, Goblin Tribal, Crescent Moon to evoke the Dark's tone. I consider the Dark to be the first attempt at doing like a gothic horror set, where they came back to Innistrad and did the 2 gothic horror themed sets, and then they did Avacyn Restored, which screwed the whole thing up and sucked, but whatever. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm going to take another sip of water. I just had a hamburger at almost 1 o'clock in the morning, which was delightful. Okay, so first card, Angry Mob. For 2 colorless and 2 whites, you get a 2/2 human. As long as it's your turn, Angry Mob's power and toughness are equal +2, or each equal to 2 plus the number of swamps your opponents control. As long as it's not your turn, Angry Mob's power and toughness are each 2. For 4 mana, not good enough. Next up, Blood of the Martyr. So, an instant for white, white, white. Until in a turn, if damage would be dealt to any creature, you may have that damage dealt to you instead. Not terrific. I'm not in love. Okay, next up is Brainwash. For white, it's an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature can't attack unless its controller plays 3. Hey, we got that recently, but it also had blocking, so that's not horrible, but I don't think that card saw any play. Next up is Cleansing. For white, 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 you get a sorcery. For each land, destroy that land unless its player pays 1 life. Any player pays 1 life. Huh. That's kind of a unique effect. Oh, I forgot. Here, sorry about that, guys. I always forget to do this. It's very late at night, as you guys all know. Vault point. Very, very late at night when I do these, so my mental faculties are not entirely there. I fell asleep. We put my son down tonight at like 9 o'clock, and then he was asleep by 9:30, and I fell asleep when my wife came in at 10:30, and she's like, hey, it's been an hour, are you gonna get up? So I got up. So next up, Dust to Dust. Colorless white white, exile 2 artifacts. That's pretty fun. I mean, I like that. It would be better as an instant, but what wouldn't it be? Next up, Exorcist. Human Cleric, 1/1 for 2 white, and a colorless and a white tap, destroy target black creature. Very flavorful. Fasting, a white, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a hunger counter on fasting. Then destroy fasting if it has 5 or more hunger counters on it. If you would begin your draw step, you may skip that step instead. If you do, gain 2 life. When you draw a card, destroy fasting. That's horrible. All that... skip a draw to gain 2 life just seems like not something you want to do. Okay, next up is Festivus for the rest of us. Okay, Festival, white instant. Cast Festival only during an opponent's upkeep. Creatures can't attack this turn. Hey, that's not bad. The art's weird. The art in this set to me is all kind of flat, with a few odds and ends. I really like Exorcist quite a bit. Okay. Fire and Brimstone. Yes, sign me up for some of that. Instant for 3 white white. Fire and Brimstone deals 4 damage to target player who declared an attacking creature this turn, and 4 damage to you. No, thank you. Holy Light. Playable in Pauper. That's my only real experience with it. Instant 2 colorless and a white. Non-white creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. I wonder if they just went, hey Drew Tucker, do you have a whole bunch of art laying around? Can we put it on Magic cards? Because we have this set that your particularly strong blotchy style would really look good on. So, okay. Next up, Knights of Thorn. Creature, human knight, 2/2 for 3 and a white. Protection from red, banding. Okay, moving on. Martyr's Cry, sorcery for white white. Exile all white creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller draws a card. Odd. White attacking itself. I wonder if all the cards, all the colors have a similar theme. Okay. Next up, Miracle Worker. I like that art. I've not done any research into this set, which is going to be just a recurring theme. I might not say it in the previous episodes, but for the most part, I may know some of the good cards in a set, but I'm not going to know the dredges. I'm just not that invested in looking ahead, basically. So some of these cards I may not have seen for a long time. So, one moment. Okay, so I'm back. Brennan sent me an email, and since he's become the editor-in-chief, I don't like to keep him waiting, especially this late at night, because he's normally, if he's up this late, he's doing something probably to get things right for the channel or whatever he's particularly working on at this time. Okay, so as I was saying before I paused, which should be seamless and you guys wouldn't have known that I paused if I didn't say it, is so like Miracle Worker, I may have seen that back in the day, but I mean, I've lost a huge chunk of knowledge from before my son was born, because of the first 6 months you don't get any sleep really, So I don't remember Miracle Worker at all. The art's cool. So a white 1/1 human cleric, destroy target aura and chance to it and attach to a creature you control. Hey, that's not bad if there's a lot of poopy auras in the format. Next up, Morale. For a colorless white instant, attacking creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. Not bad. I wouldn't play it. Next up, Pikeman. Pikeman is a human soldier for a white and a colorless. For strike and banding. Next up is Preacher. Some of my favorite art. I mean, just look at that guy. He's all like, come up here and I'm going to smack you. Okay. Human cleric for 1/1 for a white and, a colorless and 2 white. You may choose not to untap Preacher during your untap step. Tap for as long as Preacher remains tapped, gain control of target creature of an opponent's choice he or she controls. Awesome. Next up is Squire. Oh, Squire, how lowly you lay. And then time shifted, so just super appropriate. So it's a 1/2 human soldier for a white and a colorless. Couldn't even be a 2/2. Of 20 year of age he was, I guess. Of his stature he was of even length. Of wonderly deliver and greet of strength. Jeffrey Chaucer, the Canterbury's Headless. Do need to know how to spell better. That's all I'm saying. Next up, Tevidar's Crusade. Colorless and 2 white. Destroy all goblins. Take that, goblins. We hate you. We hate you, goblins. And next up, Witch Hunter. It's a 1/1 human cleric for 2 colorless, 2 white. Tap Witch Hunter, deals 1 damage to target player. And then 1 colorless white. Tap, return a target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Very strange card. Very, very strange. And that was time shifted and time spiral as well. So that was a rare uncommon one. It's very odd. Alright, so that's it for white. After the last episode, it's nice that this is a bit smaller of a set. Because I did speak for 2 hours talking about Revise and then Legends, because Legends is gigantic. So, okay, so next up is Amnesia. For some reason, I thought this was reprinted in Chronicles, but it looks like it wasn't. Amnesia is 3 colorless, blue, so 6 mana. Target player reveals his or her hand and discards all non-land cards. Very odd for a blue card, not an effect you really expect to see. Speaking of which, Apprentice Wizard, 0/1 for a colorless 2 blue, and then you pay blue, tap, add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. Definitely not a blue ability. Next up is blue, Dance of Many enchantment. When Dance of Many enters the battlefield, put a token that's a copy of target non-token creature onto the battlefield. When Dance of Many leaves the battlefield, exile the token. When the token leaves the battlefield, sacrifice Dance of Many. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Dance of Many unless you pay blue. So, very clunky clone effect. Next up is Deep Water. Blue, enchantment. Blue until end of turn. If you tap a land you control for mana, it produces blue instead of any other type. Why would you do that? I like the hammerheads. I don't like the card. Next up is Drowned. So colorless and a blue. Drowned is a 1/1 zombie. Black, regenerate, drowned. So I like the art on that a whole bunch. I'm a huge zombie fan. So zombies are cool. Okay. Next up is Electric Eel. It's a 1 blue for a 1/1. Electric Eel enters the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, it does 1 damage to you, because why not? And then for red, Electric Eel gets +2/+0 until end of turn, and it does 1 damage to you. So it zaps you. Next up is Erosion for 3. So blue, enchant land. At the beginning of the upkeep of Enchanted Land's controller, destroy that land unless that player pays 1 or 1 white. Not good. Next up is Flood, blue, enchantment. For blue blue, tap target creature without flying. That got reprinted a whole bunch. Next up is Ghost Ship. It's a 2/4 flying spirit for 2 colorless, 2 blue. And then for 3 blue, regenerate Ghost Ship. That's not bad. That's not. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. So, next up is Giant Shark. This better be an impressive card, because it's a giant shark. Okay. It's a fish. It's a 4/4. It costs 5 colorless and a blue. It's got Island Home. So, Giant Shark can't attack unless defending player controls an island. And when you control no island, sacrifice a Giant Shark. And whenever Giant Shark blocks or becomes blocked by a creature that has been dealt damage this turn, Giant Shark gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. Oh, Giant Shark. We are not going to need a bigger boat. Okay. Next up is Leviathan. It's a 10/10 Leviathan. It costs 5 blue, 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 so 1,000,000 mana. Has trample. Leviathan enters the battlefield tapped and doesn't untap during untap step. Leviathan is never going to see play. Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice 2 islands if you do untap Leviathan, or just don't play Leviathan. Leviathan can't attack unless you sacrifice 2 islands. This cost is paid as attackers are declared, or just don't play Leviathan, folks. Okay. Next up, Mana Vortex. It's an enchantment for colorless blue blue. When you cast Mana Vortex, counter it unless you sacrifice a land. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a land. When there are no lands on the battlefield, sacrifice Mana Vortex. I remember somebody in my local area playing that in a stasis deck, just to screw with people even more, really, than they were just by playing stasis. Why? I don't know. I think they were a sadist. Next up, Merfolk Assassin, a 1/2 for blue blue. Tap to destroy target creature with Island Walk. All, like, at this point, 2 creatures with Island Walk. Next up is Mind Bomb. That was, again, I thought that was in Chronicles. It was in 4th and 5th. Mind Bomb, blue sorcery. Each player may discard up to 3 cards. Mind Bomb deals damage to each player equal to 3 minus the number of cards he or she discarded this way. I love the art on that. It's just not a very good card. Next up is Psychic Allergy. Mind Bomb. Okay. Psychic Allergy. It's an enchantment for 3 blue blue. A Psychic Allergy enters the battlefield. Choose a color. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Psychic Allergy deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of non-token permanents of the chosen color he or she controls. At the beginning of each upkeep, destroy Psychic Allergy unless you sacrifice 2 islands. All that talking, and I still don't know what the card does. So you can get somebody playing a monocolored deck, but you're gonna just run out of islands super quick. Not worth it. Next up is Riptide, blue instant, tap all blue creatures. Yeah, so there is kind of a cycle of self-screw. So colors going after themselves. So, which is actually in the next set too. So, okay, next up, Sunken City. Enchantment, blue blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Sunken City unless you pay blue blue. And blue creatures get +1/+1. Oddball card. Blue doesn't really get anthem effects like this. Gets very specific, like the Merfolk Lords. But next up is Tangle Kelp. Enchantment for blue. Enchantment aura. When Tangle Kelp enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. That's good. An enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step if it attacked during its controller's last turn. Okay, not good anymore. Waterworm, 1/1 for blue, and Waterworm gets +0/+1 as long as an opponent controls an island. Right, and that's the last blue card. So blue, not terrific. Next up is Ashes to Ashes. So sorcery, black. 1 colorless black. It's exile 2 target non-artifact creatures. Ashes to Ashes deals 5 damage to you. It's not bad. It's kind of expensive and not an instant, so, but still not too terrible. Next up is Banshee. 0/1 spirit for 2 colorless black. X tap. Banshee deals X half X damage rounded down to target creature or player, and half X damage rounded up to you. So Dark was all about self-harm. Okay. Next up is Bog Imp, or as I shall call him, Bog Pimp. He's got a pimp staff and a chalice where he drinks Sabasse from. Okay, so he's an Imp 1/1 flying for 1 colorless and a black. So definitely a pimp, that's all I'm saying. Next up is a Bog Rats, 1/1 black. Bog Rats can't be blocked by walls, but they can be blocked by virtually anything else in the world. Cursed Artifact is next. It's an enchant artifact or enchantment aura. 2 colorless black black. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted artifact's controller, Cursed Artifact deals 2 damage to that player unless he or she sacrifices that artifact. Sack that artifact or take 2. Or just know your opponent's never going to play Cursed Artifact. Again, not a black card anymore. Next up is Eater of the Dead. Yum, dead. Horror 3/4. 4 colorless and a black. 0. If Eater of the Dead is tapped, exile target creature card from a graveyard and untap Eater of the Dead. Hey, that's not bad. Kind of a weird untap ability for a black card, but I kind of like it. Okay, so Frankenstein's Monster is next. It's a zombie 0/1 for X black black. As Frankenstein Monsters enters the battlefield, exile X creature cards from your graveyard. If you can't, put Frankenstein's Monster until it's on your graveyard instead of onto the battlefield. For each creature exiled this way, Frankenstein Monsters enters the build with a +2/+0, +1/+1, or +0/+2 counter on it. So I guess you can build your own monster, but I mean, you're not going to do that ever. Next up, Grave Robbers, 1/1 human rogue for a colorless black black. Tap exile target artifact card from a graveyard and you gain 2 life. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Proverb. So, good art, bad card. Next up is Inquisition, sorcery, 2 colorless and a black. Target player reveals his or her hand. Inquisition deals damage to that player equal to the number of white cards in his or her hand. Again, if your opponent's playing mono white, you have better options. Right. Next up is Marsh Gas, instant black. All creatures get -2/-0 until end of turn. Interesting, but not really a black effect and not all that great. Next up is Murk Dwellers, a 2/2 zombie for 3 colorless and a black. Whenever Murk Dwellers attacks and isn't blocked, it gets +2/+0 until end of combat. Interesting, but too expensive. Next up is Nameless Race. So it's an XX creature for 3 colorless and a black, and it has trample. As Nameless Race enters the battlefield, pay any amount of life. The amount you pay can't be more than the total number of white non-token permanents your opponent controls, plus the total number of white cards in their graveyards. Nameless Race power and toughness are each equal to the life paid as it enters the battlefield. Oh my god. So even to make it a 1/1, you would have to hope your opponent has a white permanent in play or in the graveyard, and you would pay 1 life plus 4 mana. So a million things just to make it a 1/1, and you want it to be a 4/4, and that's never going to happen. So next up is Ragman, a 2/1 human minion. Okay, and it 2 colorless black tap. Target opponent reveals his or her hand and discards a creature card at random, and you can activate that ability only during your turn. So again, no shutting them down on their draw step. Next up is Season of the Witch, enchantment black. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Season of the Witch unless you pay 2 life. At the beginning of each end step, destroy all untapped creatures that didn't attack this turn, except for creatures that couldn't attack. Interesting, but I don't think it's all that great. Next up is The Fallen. It is a 2/3 zombie for 1 colorless black. At the beginning of your upkeep, The Fallen deals 1 damage to each opponent has dealt damage to this game. That's interesting, but for 4 mana, it's never going to get in there. So next up is Uncle Esteban, 1/3 human for 1 colorless black black black. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Uncle Esteban by creatures. The best damage prevention possible is the fact that Uncle Esteban is never going to make it into a deck. So, next up is Word of Binding, X black black. Sorcery, tap X target creatures. I guess that's a good finisher, but you've seen the creatures in this set. Like, what are you tapping to get through? I mean, come on. Next up, Worms of Earth. So it's 2 colorless, a black, black, black. For an enchantment, players can't play lands. Lands can't enter the battlefield. At the beginning of each upkeep, any player may sacrifice 2 lands or have Worms of Earth deal 5 damage to him or her. If a player does either, destroy Worms of Earth. That's too clunky. Next up is Ball Lightning. We all like our Ball Lightnings. Alright. So red, 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 6/1 creature, trample, haste. And at the beginning of end step, sacrifice Ball Lightning. So that's good. For as bad as Chain Lightning was, for the Lightning represented, Quentin Hoover really nailed the Ball Lightning. So next up is Blood Moon, one of the playable cards from the dark. Blood Moon, enchantment, 2 colorless and a red. Non-basic lands are mountains. Take that, non-basic lands. I hope you like being the mountains. Okay. Non-basic lands do not like being mountains. Okay. Next up is Brother of Fire. So it's a creature. It's a 2/2. It's 1 red red. And you can pay 1 red red. Brothers of Fire deals 1 damage to target creature or player and 1 damage to you. So a lot of self-harm in the dark. Next up is Cave People. It's a human 1/4 for 1 colorless red red. Whenever Cave People attacks, it gets +1 -2 until end of turn. And then 1 red red, tap target creature gains Mountain Walk until end of turn. Strange. Next up is Eternal Flame. It's a sorcery for 2 colorless red red. Eternal Flame deals X damage to target opponent, where X is the number of mountains you control. It deals half X damage rounded up to you. More self-harm. Come on, the dark. Why do you have to hurt yourself? Don't you know people love you? People don't love you. The dark. Okay. Next up is Fire Drake. A creature, 1/2 flying Drake for a colorless red red, and it has fire breathing, but you can only activate it once each turn. So for 4 mana over 2 turns, you're getting a 2/2 flyer. Pass. Next up is Fisher. For 3 colorless red red, it's an instant, destroy target creature or land, and it can't be regenerated. So, not good. Goblin Caves is next. It's an enchantment aura, 1 red red. As long as enchanted land is a basic mountain, goblin creatures get +0/+2. Next up, Goblin Digging Team. So 1/1 goblin for red. Tap, sacrifice Goblin Digging Team to destroy target wall. From down here, we can make the whole wall collapse. Yeah, boss, but how do we get out? You don't. Dumb goblin. Next up, Goblin Hero, just a gray ogre. 2/2 vanilla creature for 2 colorless and a red. I think that might be the first vanilla creature in the set. So that's pretty cool. Goblin Rocket Sled, or Rock Sled, trample, a colorless and a red for a 3/1. And it doesn't untap during your untap step if it attacked during your last turn, and it can't attack unless a defending player controls a mountain. Gross. Next up, Goblin Shrine, enchantment aura, colorless red red. As long as enchanted land is a basic mountain, goblin creatures get +1/+0. And when Goblin Shrine leaves the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each goblin creature. So. Next up, Goblin Wizard. 1/1 Goblin Wizard for a 2 colorless red red. Tap, you may put a Goblin permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So not bad. And then red, target goblin gains protection from white until end of turn. That's pretty cool. This card is on the reserve list, so. but it was in a Master's Edition, which went outside of the reserve list because it wasn't actually paper. That would be interesting in like a Goblin tribal deck thing online, because you could just start pooping out Goblin permanents, and it's not. I mean, I guess it's a good engine card. So, okay, Goblins of the Flarg. What's a Flarg? If somebody can explain to me what a Flarg is, I would be delighted. I would be delighted. Goblin Warrior, 1/1, red, Mountain Walk, and when you control a dwarf, sacrifice Goblins of the Flarg. Don't control dwarfs. Dwarfs control you. They're not nice people. Inferno, I mean, and when I say that, of course I mean in this mythical, magical setting, not in real life. Dwarfs are delightful, just like anybody else. Alright, next up is Inferno, instant, 5, red, red. And Inferno deals 6 damage to each creature and each player. For 7 mana, that's a heck of a lot. Next up is Mana Clash. Clash your mana, boy, clash it. Sorcery red. You and target opponent each flip a coin. Mana Clash deals 1 damage to each player whose coin comes up tails. Repeat this process until both players' coins come up head on the same flip. Yeah. Next up is Orc General. A 2/2 for 2 colorless and a red. Tap, sacrifice another Orc or Goblin. Other Orc creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. Interesting, but just too clunky. Next up is Sisters of the Flame. Last red card. 2/2 for a colorless red red. Tap to add red to your mana pool. So, odd. First green card, Carnivorous Plant, because it's a hungry plant. It's carnivorous. It eats meat instead of dirt and sunlight. Okay. Next up is Plant Wall. It's a 4/5. It's a 3 colorless green, and it has Defender. That's a big wall, but it's still a wall. Next up, Elves of Deep Shadow. Elf Druid, 1/1 for green. Tap, add black to your mana pool, and Elves of Deep Shadow deals 1 damage to you. This has been reprinted with different art, but I find that art to be just amazing. Just very, very cool. Next up is Gaia's Touch. Enchantment, green. 0, you may put a basic forest from your hand onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery, and only once each turn. And then sacrifice Gaia's Touch, add green to your mana pool. So that's a kind of a clunky way to accelerate, but it lets you play an extra land, and it's only 2 green. So, Hidden Path, enchantment. 2 green, so 1,000,000 mana, and green creatures have Forest Walk. That's a pretty decent effect, but green, I mean, nobody plays it. It's a horrible color. It's just loathed universally by everybody that has magic cards. Land Leeches, 2/2, 1 green, first strike. Lurker, it's a beast. It's a 2/3 beast for 2 colorless and a green. It's a beast. And Lurker can't be the target of spells or abilities unless attack or block this turn. That's pretty fun. Next up is Marsh Viper, for 3 colorless and a green. It's a snake. It's a 1/2, and it has poison. Whenever Marsh Viper deals damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. 2 poison counters. 2 whole poison counters, folks. Sign up now. Okay. Next up is Nile Sylvain. English is my primary language, folks. It's an Ophi. It's a 2/2. It's green. And then you can pay green, or 4 green mana, and tap to regenerate target creature. So it's 1,000,000 mana, folks. Come on. Play 4. Next up is People of the Woods. It's a human X, green, creature, and the People of the Woods toughness is equal to the number of forests you control. That's not bad. I mean, just to play it, it's going to be a 1/2, just right away. So, alright. Next up is Savine Elves, a 1/1 elf for green, and the green tap, destroy target aura attached to a land. Not worth it. Scarwood Bandits is next. It's a 2/2 human rogue for 2 green green. Has Forest Walk and 2 green tap unless an opponent pays 2 green control of target artifact for as long as Scarwood Bandits remains on the battlefield. Interesting effect, but again, pretty clunky. Next up is Scarwood Hag. Creature, 1/1/1 green, and then green, 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 tap. Target creature loses Forest Walk until end of turn because screw you, Forest Walker. Or gains Forest Walk until end of turn. And then tap, target creature loses Forest Walk until end of turn. So if you have 2, you can give a creature Forest Walk and then take it away because you hate that creature and you're playing Scarwood Hags, so obviously there's something wrong with you. So that seems like something you might think about doing. Next up is Scavenger Folk. Human, 1/1 green. Green tap. Sacrifice Scavenger Folk, destroy target artifact. I mean, it's a simple card. It's not horrible. The art on it's very, very strange. I don't know what Denise Detweiler was thinking. Dennis. Sorry, Dennis. I'm sorry, man. I just could never get your name right. Next up is Spitting Slug. 2/4 for 1 green green. Whenever Splitting Slug blocks or becomes blocked, you may pay 1 green, a colorless and a green. If you do, Spitting Slug gains first strike until end of turn. Otherwise, each creature blocking or blocked by Spitting Slug gains first strike until end of turn. Why does that card even need a drawback? I guess it's a 2/4 for 3, but come on. Come on, early Magic designers, get with it. New World Order, come on, guys. Alright, next up is Tracker. Human, 2/2, 2 and a green. Green, green, tap. Tracker deals damage equal to its power to target creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power to Tracker. So it's kind of very, very early fight. I mean, this was back in 1994. You know what? I don't think I said when the set came out. It came out on August 8th of 1994. So I'm just 7 days past its 11-year anniversary? No. Oh my god. 21-year anniversary? Oh my god. Oh my... Do you ever, like, run into something that just makes you feel old? 21 years. Okay. Sorry. I was kind of astonished by the fact that 1994 was such a long time ago. Okay. Next up is Venom. For 1 colorless green green, enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature blocks or becomes blocked by a non-wall creature, destroy the other creature at the end of combat. Next up is Whippoorwill. Whippoorwill is a 1/1 bird for green. Whippoorwill does not have flying. Whippoorwill does not have flying. Don't think that it does, even though the art does, because it's clearly flying. Don't think that it does because it's a bird. Don't think that it does. It doesn't. Green, green, tap. Target creature can't be regenerated this turn because take that, regenerated creature, we hate you. Damage that we dealt to that creature this turn can't be prevented or dealt instead to another creature or player. When the creature dies this turn, exile the creature. That Whippoorwill hates you. Hates you because it does not have flying. It does not love you. Birds can't love. Next up is Wormwood Treefolk. 4/4, 3 green green, so that's not bad. And then it has green green. Wormwood Treefolk gains Forest Walk until end of turn and deals 2 damage to you. Or black Wormwood Treefolk gains Swamp Walk until end of turn and deals 2 damage to you. That would be good in limited, but not in constructed. And not in a cube. There's just better options. Next up is Dark Heart of the Wood. Reprinted in OG Ravnica. So it's enchantment for black-green. Sacrifice the forest, you gain 3 life. This counts as both a black and a green card. So all the gold cards in the set did. Which is weird, but... Next up is Marsh Goblins. It's a 1/1 goblin for black-red with Swamp Walk. Next up is Scarwood Goblins, a 2/2 goblin for red-green. And that's it for the gold cards, all 3 of them. We're actually fairly close to the end of the set. One more page. Next up is Barl's Cage. It's an artifact, 4 to cast. 3. Target artifact doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. That's not bad. Clunky, but keeps something tapped down forever. Next up is Bone Flute. We all know how much Magic players like to play their Bone Flutes. Artifact for 3, 2 tap. All creatures get -1, -0 until end of turn. Because take that, creatures, we hate you. Next up is a Book of Ross. Creatures were so bad back then, and we're just trying to make them worse, folks. Book of Ras, not Ras. Okay. Artifact, 6 casting cost. 2, pay 2 life, draw a card. 2 life, I would do it. I mean, 6 mana is a lot, but you want more cards. You want more exorcists and preachers and stuff. Next up, Coal Golem. It's an artifact creature golem, 3/3 for 5 mana, and then 3 tap, sacrifice Coal Golem, add red to your mana pool. Just play more mountains. Come on, just do it. Next up is Dark Spear, a Mark Teton art. I like that. Card's not good, but tap, sacrifice Dark Spear. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent half that damage rounded down. Or block. Next up is Diabolic Machine, 4/4 for 7, 3 tap, regenerate Diabolic Machine. Or just 3. I don't know why I said tap, I'm sorry, I just had an extra tap symbol. Cool art though. That guy's fighting against a machine that's eating him. Next up is Felwar Stone, 2 tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. That could be a good mana rock for a cube. I mean, it's simple, elegant. You might not get the colored mana that you want, but you're going to still get kind of a ramp effect. And we're printed. Actually, it's in Commander, which is normally a good sign that it's playable in a singleton format. So, next up, Fountain of Youth. Artifact 0, casting cost free. And then 2 tap, you gain 1 life. No! Okay. Living Armor, 4 to cast. Tap, sacrifice Living Armor. Put X +0/+1 counters on target creature, where X is that creature's converted mana cost. So, for 4 mana, you buff something's toughness. That's too clunky. Next up is Necropolis. It's a 0/1 wall for 5 mana. It has Defender, of course. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Put X +0/+1 counters on Necropolis, where X is the exiled creature's converted mana cost. That's not bad. Still kind of clunky. Next up is Reflecting Mirror, because that guy's face is a skull. 4 to cast. X tap. Change the target spell with a single target if that target is you. The new target must be a player. X is twice the converted mana cost of that spell. So to change the target of like a lightning bolt, you pay 2 and tap. Oh yeah, that's not bad, but it's pretty clunky. Next up is Rune Sword, 6 to cast, 3 tap. Target attacking creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. When that creature leaves the battlefield this turn, sacrifice Rune Sword. If the creature deals damage to a creature this turn, the creature dealt damage can't be regenerated this turn. If a creature dealt damage by target creature would die this turn, exile that creature instead. Yeah, 6 mana. Pass. Next up is Scarecrow. 2/2 for 5 mana, 6 tap. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to you this turn by creatures with flying. Scarecrows came back again later on and are a lot more effective for the most part than that one. The art is creepy. I do like the little button eye. Next up is Skull of Worm. Skull of Worm is 3 with 5 tap. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. I had a friend obsessed with that card. He's like, I'm going to get back all of my enchantments. I was like, okay, I'm just going to play blue. Because I hate you. Okay, next up is Sanding Tones. No, standing stones. Okay. Artifact 3. 1 tap. Pay 1 life. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So for 4 mana, you get 1 mana. No. Okay. Next up. Stone Calendar. So for 5 mana, spells you cast cost up to 1 less to cast. Awesome art, bad card. Tormod's Crypt. Reprinted many times. 0 to cast. Tap, sacrifice Tormod's Crypt. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Good answer for graveyard shenanigans. Next up is Tower of Corial. Artifact for 2. Tap, target creature can't be blocked by walls this turn. Next up is Wand of Ith. 4 to cast, 3 tap. Target player reveals a card at random from his or her hand. If it's a land card, that player discards it unless he or she plays 1 life. If it isn't a land card, that player discards it unless he or she plays life equal to its converted mana cost. Activate this ability only during your turn. Next up is Warbarge. 4 to cast, 3. Target player gains... Target player? Why would a player gain Island Walk? Come on, Sam. Target creature gains Island Walk until end of turn. When Warbarge leaves the battlefield this turn, destroy that creature. A creature destroyed that this way can't be regenerated. Okay, next up is City of Shadows, the first land of 4 lands. So, tap, exile a creature you control, put a storage counter on City of Shadows. This better be an impressive use of a storage counter. I haven't looked at the next line yet. I'm guessing because you've exiled a creature that you've cast, the next line of text on here is going to be you get hugs from angels and you win your next 30 games automatically. So you're going to go to like the next 6 or 7 weeks of Friday Night Magics, and you're going to be like, I tapped and exiled a creature. I sacrificed a creature to a City of Shadows 5 weeks ago. Can I just go ahead and get my prize? Okay, let's see what reality is. Tap, add X to your mana pool, where X is the number of storage counters on City of Shadows. So, I may have overshot a little. Next up, Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith. Tap. Untap target attacking creature. Perfect. This is exactly what you want to do. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and by that creature this turn. So one of the most powerful lands in the history of Magic. I mean, what it does is an amazing effect against almost every deck. And it's just a super good card. I mean, getting that type of effect for free without having to put any mana into it or take up a slot except for a land slot in your deck is really good. I don't like that art at all. That art's amazing. Let's see how much, oh, it's not even. That's online only. Let's see how much they are online. Oh, okay, well, screw you then, magiccardsinfo.info. Let's see how much the Dragon's Program one is. Oh, just $110. That art's better. Why couldn't that art be on From the Realms? Okay. Next up is Safe Haven. So it's a land. Tap. 2. Exile target creature you control. Nope. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice Safe Haven. If you do, return each card exiled with Safe Haven to the battlefield under its control. So, that's going to get destroyed by one of the many different ways that lands get destroyed at this point of Magic. For free, because Wasteland's around, and you're just going to lose all of your creatures, and everybody at the table is going to laugh at you for playing that. So don't play it. Next up is the last card in the set. 1, 2, 3, yeah. And it's universally reviled as being one of the worst cards in Magic. It's Sorrow's Path. So it's land. 2, tap. Land, tap. Choose 2 target walking creatures and opponent controls. Okay, that's not bad. 2 effects for Just one tap? I'm in. If each of these creatures could block all creatures that the other is blocking, remove both of them from combat. Okay, that seems convoluted. Each one then blocks all creatures the other was blocking. Oh, okay. So you could screw up combat math? And whenever Cyrus Path becomes tapped, it deals 2 damage to you and each creature you control. That effect's not really good enough to pyroclasm yourself. I mean, not to end the set review on a down note or anything, but that doesn't seem good at all. But that's it. We're done with the dark. We made it through. We're seeing the light now. And the light, unfortunately, is that the next episode is going to lead to much gnashing of teeth and rending of flesh. It's going to lead to, unfortunately, not heavy drinking, but like in a just world where I wouldn't have to worry about my kidneys. Heavy drinking would be something that would happen because the next set is Fallen Empires. It's Fallen Empires. And with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you for listening. Comments, questions, concerns, leave them below. Have a wonderful day.